Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Jessica Lehman. I lead the Disability Organizers Forum, and I'm delighted to be here with all of you. I believe this is our biggest organizers forum yet. And we've got a great team of folks speaking and supporting the call. I smiled as I got on because somebody said, should I turn my video off to eat? No, of course not. This is a somewhat informal space where this is about community. This is about being together. It's about seeing each other in all of our glory, learning from each other. So let's make this space useful and cohesive in all of the ways that we can. So I want to start with talking about access. We have two ASL interpreters. They will be spotlighted the whole time. If there's any problem with that, we will pause and get it resolved. We also have a live captioner. Your captions should be showing. If they are not, you can go to, most likely it'll say more, and you can go to captions, and then sometimes then you have to go at the bottom of your screen again and choose show captions. If it's there and it's distracting to you, you can do the same thing and go to hide captions. Let's see. We also recognize that sometimes people have conflicting access needs. Chat on Zoom is a particular one where it can be a really good way for some people to participate, and it can also be distracting and inaccessible for others. So if there are things in the chat as far as resources or key things that people need to know, we will be sure to read those out. We will also put those resources in a follow-up email that will go out on the disability organizing listserv, disabilityorganizing@googlegroups.com. So you don't have to worry about getting those things. If it's distracting, you can even just go into your Zoom settings and turn off the chat. We do ask people to kind of keep the chat limited to make it easier for folks. So, I love all the hellos and the I'm here's, but try to do that. You can send individual chats to people if you want. And yes, we will post links. And I'm already seeing questions. We will get to those as we can. Okay, and we will mute everyone until we get to the discussion so that we can make sure that people can hear. Okay, so I said I'm Jessica Lehman. I use she and her. I'm a longtime disability organizer. I am a white woman with used to be shoulder length, a little longer than shoulder length, brown hair. And you can see my living room behind me. All right, so I want to ask people to introduce themselves in the chat. I know I said keep it limited, but this is one way we can hear from people. And so I'm going to ask you to put your name, your pronouns, your city and state, and just a word or two about your interest in today's topic, right? What brought you here? And I'll ask one of our tech people if they can add that to the chat as well, so people know what things to use to introduce themselves. So we do have 3 Zoom support people. If you have any problems or questions, send them a private note in the chat. Their names will say tech support, or just put a general thing in the chat, and one of them or me or I will get back to you. All right. So what is the Disability Organizers Forum? This has been going on for several years. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. But if you're not, the idea of this is we do periodic calls to expand and support community organizing in disability communities. We want to mobilize our folks with different disabilities from various communities all over the country, sometimes all over the world. We've had people from outside the US. So these calls are designed to bring together disability organizers and activists and other interested folks to share strategies for mobilizing our people, for working with different groups and communities. And we try to focus on the most marginalized disabled people. How can we collaborate with other movements? And how do we improve and expand intersectionality within and beyond disability communities? This is a project of the National Disability Leadership Alliance, which is a national cross-disability coalition led by disability groups that are all run by people with disabilities themselves. And it's designed to build a stronger disability voice to shape national policies, politics, media, and culture. All right. So for the Organizers Forum, I just want to name that there's a difference between organizing and advocacy. And of course, it's not always a clean line at all, but that organizing we see as people who are directly affected by a problem or an issue coming together to reach a specific goal that alters the power relations to create real change. Whereas advocacy is more about individuals educating people with power on key issues. They may not be the people directly affected. It may be somebody talking on behalf of. So I think in disability communities, we use and we need both. There are definitely other spaces where we talk about policy advocacy. And so this space is really designed to focus on the community organizing side of things. So I mentioned that we have a Google group, and I'm going to ask one of our tech folks to put that link in the chat. It's a Google group that you can join, and then you don't get much traffic, but you'll get notification about these calls, and we'll send follow-up materials out there as well. You can also follow the Organizers Forum on Facebook. I know fewer people are on Facebook. We are not posting things on what used to be Twitter anymore. And unfortunately, the NDLA website is not updated right now. So the group is the listserv is the best way to get that information. Okay. I'm going to ask our speakers and our tech people, did I miss anything as far as access or general housekeeping? Okay.
Hey, this is Anita.
Yes.
Um, I know that we're asking people to introduce themselves in the chat. Um, it would be cool just for access just to read a few random names of who's here.
Thank you. Yeah, I just realized I have 82 new messages. Sorry, Anita, this is Jessica again. And yes, these are people introducing themselves. So I see Andrew Pulrang, he, him from Plattsburgh, New York. I'm curious about what people are thinking and planning. I see Lori from Jacksonville, Florida. My interest is in stopping hate and service cancellations, supporting the disability community. Brittany from Berkeley, California, learning about movements to protect disability rights, promote justice. A bunch from California. How do I stand up and fight while keeping my mental health and spoon count safe? Love that. Let's see. We have a parent of an adult son with autism. Jay from Durham, North Carolina, interested in disability organizing and higher education. Let's see what else. Taking care of organizers is really important right now as we have had so much dropped on us very quickly. We have Gwen, who's been working with people with developmental disabilities to ensure quality services. Finn from Boston, Massachusetts, worked with the Autistic People of Color Fund, doing policy and advocacy and trying to launch a national intersectional disability coalition. Very excited about that. Oh, wow, there is so much good stuff on here. Somebody disabled working on labor organizing. Lots of great folks. I'm seeing people from all over the country. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Thank you for that. All right. And I apologize. I see someone with your hand up. We're not going to be able to take comments from participants until we get to the Q&A. So I'm going to put your hand down for now. Oh, you already did, but feel free to raise that again later. All right. So I am so excited to introduce today's topic and our speakers. So today's topic is taking care and taking action. I think we all know we are in a bleak time. We are seeing attacks on Medicaid, on 504, as well as major attacks on trans rights, immigrants, DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which has turned into just attacks on anyone who is not a cisgender, non-disabled, straight white man. Um, and this impacts people across disability communities, as well as friends and family and neighbors that we all have. It's easy to get overwhelmed, right? And I know for myself, I kind of alternate between feeling like we have to fight. We need to get more people. I got to work on the organizers forum. I got to figure out how we're going to get people in my city of Oakland and in California and across the country, right? And oh my God, that's overwhelming and things are terrible. And I'm just going to go work on a puzzle because that's my happy place, right? Um, so the idea is that we are hoping that today can offer a way for disabled people all over the country to share a little bit about what are they doing to organize against attacks on our communities right now. People that do this work professionally and have been doing it for many years. Let's hear some insights on how are you seeing the work right now? What should we all be thinking about? And the idea of the organizers forum is this is not just let's hear from experts and then we'll go back to our day, right? But that we're going to have time for everyone to think about what does this mean for you in your community? What does this mean for how you can mobilize disabled people that are around you and how we can build our collective power to fight back? And how do we embody taking care of ourselves and each other at the same time so that we can sustain this work and so that all of us with all of our identities don't get pushed out of this fight because we need all of us. All right, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight our speakers and then we can introduce them.
Um, Jessica, some folks are having trouble seeing the interpreter. Is there somebody who can see the interpreter who can give some advice on this? I'm a host, so it shows up differently for me.
Is
Michelle,
anyone seeing the interpreter?
So,
Michelle has switched to the multi-speaker view.
and this is Sam, one of the tech support people. The people who are spotlit should appear on the first page of participants. So make sure you're looking at that first page because we have multiple pages of participants. That may help as well.
Thank you for that. Also, you can go to view and do gallery view instead of speaker view, and you can pin the interpreter if that's the only person you want to see. You can do a search in participants for ASL, or obviously they'll appear near the top of the alphabetical participant list. And then you could pin them for yourself, so that's who you see. Okay. Looks like we're okay. All right, great. Thank you for that. Okay, so today's speakers, I know we got over 300 people registered today because you all can't wait to hear from these four incredible people. So let's get started. So we have Anita Cameron, who is a disability justice elder. Anita uses she and they. Anita is a disability justice activist who has been involved in social change activism and community organizing for 43 years. She has been arrested 140 times fighting for disability rights with the direct action group ADAPT. Thank you, Anita. And Anita has worked on healthcare, transportation, voting rights, emergency preparedness, anti-racism, and LGBTQ rights. As a Black disabled lesbian, Anita's unique intersectional perspective allows them to promote understanding among different groups of disenfranchised people. And they currently serve as director of community outreach for Not Dead Yet, which is a national disability rights organization that opposes medical aid in dying. And I know I've learned a lot from Anita over the years already. So thank you for all that you do and all that you are. We also have Rachita Singh, who uses she and her and is policy manager at the American Association of People with Disabilities. And I
Hi,
just
one
wanted
moment.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the wrong interpreter is currently pinned. I want to make sure that we actually have the active interpreter. So is it Billy or is it Candace? Billy is pinned, but Candace is not.
Billy will be interpreting right now. We're going to switch.
Okay, it's Billy. Great, we'll go now. Okay.
Thank you. I think that was my mistake. Both are spotlighted now. Thanks for that. Amber, did we miss anything? Should I back up a little? We're good. Okay. All right. So I was going to say we are going to put the links for organizations that all of our speakers are with in the chat, and we will send those out as well. Okay. So Rachita Singh, policy manager at American Association of People with Disabilities, was diagnosed with epilepsy in college at William and Mary. Along with a bachelor's in government, she has a master's in public policy from Duke University. Her first experience with the disability community and disability policy was when she was a Google Policy Fellow in grad school and got placed at AAPD in 2019. And in her words, she hasn't left them since. Rachita is as passionate about helping and advocating for her community as she is about her dog and Beyonce. Maybe we'll get a dog appearance during this call if we're lucky. But it's great to have you, Rachita. Thank you for being here. All right, next I'm going to introduce Dom Kelly. Dom uses he and they and is the co-founder, president, and CEO of New Disabled South, an incredible organization that started just a few years ago. We're so lucky to have them. Dom is one of a set of triplets with cerebral palsy and a lifelong disability advocate. He received a Master of Science in Nonprofit Leadership from the University of Pennsylvania's School of Social Policy and Practice. Dom is part of the 2025 global cohort of Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity, was chosen as a 2024 Rockwood National Leading from the Inside Out year-long fellow, and was one of 10 winners of the J.M. Kaplan Fund's 2023 Innovation Prize. He has been organizing in the South since 2009, committed to building a progressive future for disabled people in his region. And in 2022, he co-founded New Disabled South, which works to improve disabled people's lives in the South through advocacy, organizing, and research. Welcome, Dom. And last but not least, Amber Smock, Vice President of Advocacy at Access Living. Amber uses she and her. Amber is a proud member of the deaf community and has worked for 20 years at Access Living, a nationally recognized independent living center based in Chicago. She started out as a youth organizer in 2005 and has led the policy and organizing department for 15 years. Her view is that you can organize any group of people anywhere. Amber and her 14-person team work on a wide range of disability topics, including healthcare, home and community-based services, housing, economic justice, education, transportation, immigration. Is there any issue you don't do, Amber? And decarceration, which is about getting and keeping people with disabilities out of jail and prison. Amber is a recipient of numerous awards for her national and state disability advocacy. Amber is clearly such a leader in thinking about community organizing in our movement. So thank you for being here. All right. So I'm going to ask each of our speakers to say hello and just give a very brief visual description before we move to questions. So I'll start with Amber. Amber, do you want to just give a brief visual description?
Sorry, this is Amber, missed the cue. So hello, and you want a visual description, right? So I am a white woman with short, blondish kind of curling hair, and got a t-shirt on because it's organizing day, so that means a t-shirt, not a button down. And I'll just leave it at that.
Dom?
Hi, everyone. Dom Kelly. I am a white man with dark brown curly hair wearing a tan shirt with black piping around the collar, and I'm sitting in front of a wall of some pictures and records and a bookshelf with a church fan that says disability justice is spiritual.
Thanks, Dom. Anita? Anita, are you there? Maybe Anita had to step away for a second. Let's go to Rachita.
Hello, this is Rachita Singh. I use she, her pronouns, the policy manager at the American Association of People with Disabilities. And for visual description, I'm a brown-skinned Indian woman with dark brown hair, which is in a ponytail, wearing tortoiseshell glasses and pearl earrings right now, with a green sweater.
Wonderful. Anita, are you available to give a visual description? Okay, we lost Anita momentarily, but I'm sure we'll get them back soon. All right, so I'm going to start with a very basic question, and maybe just a couple of you can answer this, whoever feels inspired. What does community organizing mean to you? Oh my gosh, I know you all want to jump in and answer. Dom, you're smiling. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm smiling. Oh, I would love to, but also I'm smiling because I really want to hear Amber's answer. But I'm not going to put Amber on the spot. Community organizing to me means not just mobilizing folks around a particular issue, but building relationships, trusting relationships with folks in our community, also bringing more people into our community to create change, long-term change, and build power. I think community organizing can sometimes be campaign-based. It can be long-term. It can be short-term. I think that for me, the critical part of community organizing and also thinking about it on a even hyper local level is how we build trusting relationships with each other so that we can then create change, whether that is one specific outcome or long term broader goals. And part of that relationship building is taking care of each other. It's providing mutual aid to each other. And all of those things are not tactics. That's part of part of how we build an engaged base of folks and see that change actually happen. So it is again, it is, I think you said this, Jessica, that there's a difference between advocacy and organizing. And I think community organizing is so much about how we build those trusting relationships with each other, which helps us move toward change and build power long term.
Thank you.
This is Amber. I can follow up a little bit, not just because Dom is kind of apparently waiting to hear this, okay? But I agree with what Dom said, although I'm gonna add a little bit of a different perspective on it. And that is, I think that community organizers need to have some awareness that organizing is about a personal transformation process. And that, you are dealing with oftentimes people who don't realize the power that they have within them and who don't realize that they can take action and not just take action, but when they do that, it makes you different. And it makes you feel like, man, maybe I can do this. And if I can do this, maybe I can do another thing. And so organizing is also about moving people outside of their comfort zone. And that's a great responsibility. And so understanding that you're really talking about connecting with people in this world of disabled people, that means a heck of a lot of different kinds of people, and you're never going to know. You're never going to come to the end of figuring out all the people, so you have to be constantly learning, but also stewarding and helping people with this personal transformation thing, because when that happens, that is when you see people doing the things that move the power. And Jessica, I've been seeing Anita flash on and off, and I'm hoping that means she's coming back. Um, I don't know. Sorry, I'm having an anxiety thing about Anita right now. So, I don't know if you want to check. Anita,
Thank you.
are you there? Hey,
Yay.
Anita, are you able to come off mic? I don't know. Okay. Okay.
Anita, are you there? We'd love to get a brief visual description of you and if you can share what does community organizing mean to you? Oh, shoot. I don't know if Anita is having issues.
Okay, this is Amber. If I can say, if you want to test Anita, I think you as the host can unmute Anita and see if she's having difficulty with the mic.
I cannot, unfortunately. I can only ask to unmute. And Anita, if you are, we can see you now, sort of. If you're having an audio problem, if you go to the audio on the screen and do check audio settings, that for me at least, usually my computer will figure out how to fix it. Okay, we're gonna keep coming back to Anita. Rachita, do you want to answer? What is community organizing to you?
Sure. For me, because I work on the policy and a little bit more, I think I kind of value the community organizing in the sense of it being a tool for policy. So, I really see how it is used as like a momentum. As policy advocate, like you're in there, you're talking to people on the Hill, you're doing that one-on-one kind of work, at least in my role, but it's really the collective power of the community that ends up being, the people that move, the decision makers to actually do something. It's that collective
Hi,
power.
this is Anita. I'm in a
Oh,
bit of an emergency situation right now. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, Anita. I hope you're okay. Okay, I'm gonna follow up separately with Anita. Go ahead, Rachita. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I wasn't able to hear. I don't know why I was on mute. This is Anita. I was in an emergency situation going on. I'm still in an emergency situation, but I'm here. I apologize profusely.
Anita, no apology needed. This is Jessica. We hope you're okay. If you need to leave and take care of yourself and come back or don't come back, do what you need to do. Just let us know. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm all right. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll give you a second and we'll come back to you if that's okay, Anita.
Yeah, if you could just repeat the question, thanks.
Absolutely, will do. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, Rachita, take 3. Sorry about that.
no, that's okay. No, I was just say I think for me, community organizing is just a great way to kind of supplement that policy and advocacy part, and where we just come together and really hone in on that community aspect. And yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that I've seen examples of it in the past, where you use that momentum to push through an action item, to push legislation, and it comes through with the numbers, and that power comes through from the numbers. So yeah, that's what it means to me.
Thanks so much. Anita, if you are there and you're doing okay, we'd love to get your brief visual description. And the first question was just a very basic, what does community organizing mean to you?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Anita Cameron. I use she, they pronouns. I am a Black person with caramel colored skin, long locks. I'm wearing a black uh, hoodie with white lettering that says "We Can't Breathe," and my background is a still shot from the Capitol Crawl of myself. Uh, what does organizing mean to me? I've been doing community organizing for 43 years, and I see community organizing as a way to, I don't know, do something. You know, I started doing social justice and community organizing at the age of 16. So I was doing this a little bit before I got into disability work, but that's what it, what it is. What it is to me, it's my way of doing something, to address an issue, whether it's, getting some neighbors, together to, address the issue of we got doggone shopping carts all over our hood, or something similar. Yeah, but I see it as my own way of, instead of kind of complaining, what can I do? What can I do to try to do something, even if it may not necessarily be quote unquote right, if you will, or saved, if you will. But it's my way of, rather than kind of um, being depressed, which is quite easy. I mean, look at the times that we're living in, but just to say, you know, um, to do something. So yeah, that's what it means to me.
Thank you, Anita. And I appreciate the questions that I see in the chat. We're going to collect those, and we'll get to as many of those as we can when we get to the Q&A. So the next question, and thank you, Amber, for this question. What is unique about doing community organizing in this moment? So I'm going to turn it to Amber to start first because I know you have ideas.
Yeah, I mean, because I suggested that, this is Amber, because I suggested that question to you, I can start. One thing that I think is important is the uh, centers of power that we've been used to dealing with have changed. And so it is very important for people to take a step back and say, okay, right now, who really has power in the moment? Because it's not what we've been dealing with for the last 10 or 15 years. So it is different. And understanding how to engage with those people, understanding that people with disabilities are in a lot of fear right now, and how do we work through that to get people to step up. Um, so I think, this kind of situation can lead people to thinking, maybe I'm not a good organizer. Everybody's depressed. Like, oh, what just happened, And the reality is that there's a bigger situation that has changed. And it's not whether or not you're a bad organizer. It's not whether or not you can't step up and that your voice doesn't matter. It really is that it's a very different kind of situation right now. And I think everybody's trying to figure out what this actually means, like how do we talk about the importance of recognize the whole person that each of us is in the current situation when we have a lot of people that are kind of hell bent on denying part or all of you as a person. So figuring out a different way to be that warrior is very important, but you should not be thinking that this means you are a bad organizer or a bad advocate. So that's what I would say right now.
That's beautiful. Anita, do you want to share your thoughts on that? What's unique about community organizing in this moment?
Well, I think what's unique about it is that there are a lot more of us who are marginalized, who are doing this, who don't have the financial support. We have people with disabilities who are literally organizing from their bed, not their bedroom, their beds. Okay. And that's the thing. The people who we always, or who maybe society always thought couldn't do it, we're doing it. Those of us out there who have really complex support needs, we're still out there doing it. We're the ones that's going out there with our chalkboards doing it. We're the ones that's doing it, like I said, from our beds. So that's the thing. And we're doing a lot of it without the help from the disability industrial complex, if you mean, we're doing it without that help. We're innovating, and we are, we're hooking up with other marginalized folks, with other folks who also have, very significant support needs, of saying, we can do this. That's what I'm seeing. That's the unique thing, and that's the beautiful thing. That's the heartening thing for us, is that we're having the very ones of us who they said couldn't do it. We're out here doing it. We're out here doing the thing.
Love that. Rachita or Dom, do you want to answer that as well? I'm just gonna let you all choose, and you can jump in if you want to, or we can keep going.
I mean, Anita, to me, just drop the mics, and Amber. So I have nothing to add.
Yeah, same. I think for me, I agree with what both of them said. And then I would just say I think it's all about energy and education right now. What I'm seeing is those who are mobilizing right now are have a lot of have they're mustering what energy they do have, and they're educating themselves and spreading as much education as they can. The ones that are not organizing or mobilizing or kind of just staying still, I think, are the ones that are either tired or not sure what to do or are afraid or confused, and which is valid. And I think that's why one of the things that is important to me is to kind of see if there's a way to dispel that through education. So I think spreading information and education to organize and mobilize is important.
Great, thank you. So Dom, I'll ask you to answer this next question first, and then anyone else can jump in. Why do you think organizing and mobilizing disabled people is so important right now?
Well, this is Dom. I think Rachita made a really good point that right now, people are tired, they're afraid. I mean, there's a lot happening. I mean, right now, heavy on my mind is Mahmoud Khalil, who is a Palestinian organizer who was arrested in his apartment in New York by ICE, and is being held at an ICE prison in Louisiana, and one that's illegal, and but this administration doesn't care about illegal. And I think the point being that we are in a moment of authoritarianism, and the conditions under which we are organizing as a whole, as a country, is new, and also so much of it we don't know what is going to happen in the coming months or years. So I think one, understanding that people's fears, and also the reality that so many people have been organizing for so long and are burnt out, and like those are all valid. And I think um we can both validate that, and also we have to organize right now to be able to uh fight this fascist regime and protect especially the most marginalized folks, trans folks who are being attacked every single day, Black folks who are being attacked every single day, or Palestinian folks who are being attacked. I mean, so many people who are directly in the crosshairs. The disability community is, yes, but more so the folks who are multiply marginalized, who we need to organize for in this moment. With them at the forefront of who we are protecting. So, like, it is critical that we organize. We also have to, the reality is that, like, organizers are not safe right now, less safe than I think organizers have ever been. Here in Atlanta, where I live, we've done a lot of work organizing against the construction of Cop City. Multiple Cop City organizers were arrested and charged with terrorism. And like that is something that we're going to continue to see as we do direct actions and civil disobedience and some of the things that we've done in the past. We don't know what's going to happen. So like, while it is a scary moment to organize, it is a critical moment for us to continue to organize for our community and other communities, and it has to be cross movement. It cannot just be about us.
I see applause and hearts. Thank you. Who else wants to jump in on that? Why is organizing and mobilizing disabled people important right now?
So this, Anita, our lives are at stake all across this country, and even in blue states, our lives are at stake. But we can't look. I'm one of those folks that hit the streets. I'm one of those folks that back in the day used to get my ASS beat on the regular by the cops. We have to understand that if we are going to be in the trenches, in the streets, that's what's going to happen to us. I think a lot about the Cop City folks. I did a panel with one of the folks who was arrested and charged with terrorism. I had been trying to warn disability activists for a few years now, those of us who've been out there on the streets, that these are different times, that they're going to start beating our butts like they used to do back in the day. They're going to start treating disabled people just like they treat everyone else. We're going to be shedding blood too. We're going to be in regular prisons and jails with the general population. We have to be prepared for this. That doesn't mean stop organizing, or anything like that. It means you got to be prepared for it. It means we got to be prepared for the fact that we may not be able to enter the people's house. You know what I mean? The Capitol. We go to DC, we may not be able to get in that Capitol anymore. Okay, we may not be able to get close to the White House anymore. I feel that if we, are out there, we need to be looking at sustained ways of. To me, we can't keep going out there marching and kumbaya and we shall overcome and whatnot. We can't keep. This is not our grandmama's civil rights fight. We are literally in a fight for our lives, and maybe we need to get a little bit more hard hitting, if you will, in our resistance. Okay, we're gonna have to, because we go out there and march, boom, they could just arrest us all, whatever. You know, um, I say it's about occupation sustained. I say it's about getting together with these other groups, Poor People Campaign or whatever, teaching them how to get out there in the trenches and how to do it like we do it, and then and learn some stuff from them and get out there and work together, because it's gonna take all of us, and it's not. Nah, it ain't gonna be about we shall overcome no more. It ain't gonna be about marching and all of that. We're gonna have to start doing some things that we may not necessarily want to do. Okay, let's get real. This is the real times. It's all hands on deck. We need to all be fighting for our lives, but understand the time has come for some real live courage. And if you cannot get out in the trenches, figure out ways to help your friends. Figure out ways to help your neighbors. Figure out practical things that you can do. But if you get out in them streets, know that it's a whole different time, and no blood is going to be shed. Don't make it scarier, but we done been through things. As a Black person, I know when my ancestors have been in this country since 1619 or not. I know that we done been through some hell. Women, done been through hell. We in the LGBTQ community is coming through hell, but we can't keep doing it like we was before. That's not gonna get us a different result. We was all about saving lives, and we got to innovate and do things different, and know that blood gonna be shed, but still know that we can't be scared. But still know that if we can't do that, there's practical things that we can do to help each other.
Can I add one really quick thing, just to what Anita said? Well, I think Anita said it, and to just add to it that, like, these times we're in, we're also not just talking about Trump administration. Like, we are talking about, and I think in the past we could say we can rely on blue states, we can rely on these, quote unquote allied elected officials, right, to do the right thing. We are seeing fascism or support of fascism or rolling over to fascism across the board. The Stop Cop City organizers were arrested and charged with terrorism under the Biden administration. The pro-Palestinian organizers were arrested under the Biden administration. Like, we are talking about and we are seeing mask bans proposed in New York and supported in New York. I mean, we're talking about compliance to fascism across the board. So, like, what we have done and relied on in the past, I don't know we can rely on right now.
Yeah. This is Amber. If I may. So I think everybody needs to have in their life some person who's going to tell you the hard shit, like Anita. Because those kinds of conversations are about making sure that people understand where to find their backbone. So that's important. But I would also say that it's also important not to be alone. try to organize with someone or with some people, don't like really try to do it like with other people. And understand that, one of the things that people really got to watch out for is, understand if people have agreed to show up to ask to do what you're asking of them. Have they consented to you telling them to do something? If they haven't, then maybe you need to ask more nicely or build a relationship first. I hope people understand what I mean. You don't want a bunch of people sitting in a room and saying, I don't want to do what Amber said. I don't consent to being told that I have to do this or I have to do that. And understand that some folks, a lot of people need to feel like they have agreed to show up to do a thing, you know. So, but that is interpersonal work is what I'm saying. So don't do it alone. Do find somebody who's willing to give you the straight shit, okay? And don't be afraid to hear that. And then, really think about whether, you might have somebody in your groups or something who not really taking action, not really doing anything. Well, do they feel like they've agreed to come in and do what you're asking them to do? Check in with people is what I'm saying.
Thanks so much, Amber. There's a lot of great stuff in the chat. A lot of good questions that we'll try to get to. People talking about we don't want to be complying, obeying in advance. We don't want to be isolated. Russell Dawson Rawlings says organizing is community building, never do it alone. And then talk of other groups that folks are working with and can work with. I see the Poor People's Campaign. There's a lot of others. It's hard to keep up. Young Democrats, Disability Caucus. So we will definitely share this over. And I appreciate this comment from Jensen Caraballo. Racism and hate have been a thing way before this administration. The haters have been empowered. A lot of this isn't new, just extra strong. All right, so
Definitely agree with Jensen. This is Anita. I agree. It's been around, since the beginning of this country. I think what's kind of unique about this is that people have been given permission, if you will, to say their feelings, to act on their feelings. So yeah, you're right. It's been around, but and going to on the thing also that that you were saying, John. I live in a blue state. I live in a state that is cutting home health care. I live in a state that is trying its best to get assisted suicide. And the thing about that's so dangerous about assisted suicide is um, it's not choice, it's not health care. And as we lose access to health care, as we are sitting up with um, home health care attendants, personal care attendants not getting a living wage and whatnot, all of these factors come together to, as this is normalized across the country, along with the disability disparities in healthcare and the racial disparities in healthcare. Um, we're going to be in a situation where we're going to start to see more and more disabled, more and more sick, more and more folks of color falling under this system that is discriminatory and dangerous. And you know what the sad part about it is? The people who are really, in love with this are our allies, are the progressives, the liberals, the Democrats, and all. In my work, because this is what I do every day, I find myself working with people who don't want me to exist in order to fight against assisted suicide. because it's the ones who should be our allies, the ones who will slip there and say they care about disabled people, they care about home health care, they care about mental health, and then they turn around and they support assisted suicide, or they turn around and they slash our home health care. They create systems where our hospitals in New York State are going to be filled with disabled people, suffering from the situation we're going through with our. So, that's why organizing is so important. But I think that we need to know too that we also have to look at kind of unique ways of organizing, kind of ways that they don't think about. You know, the one thing that I learned is that if you keep doing things the same way over and over, the police will um, get, and the powers of be, they'll clock you. You'll be predictable. They'll say, oh, they're gonna march down this street, up here. They're gonna know your moves. And you cannot have your adversaries know your moves. You know, and so, yeah, and yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. But I will say that if you want to know more of why assisted suicide is extraordinarily dangerous for disabled people, for seniors, for sick people, um, please contact me at Not Dead Yet, because a lot of people mistake that for healthcare. A lot of people mistake that you have choice in that, when that's inherently discriminatory. And I can tell you more, about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Anita. I love what you said, that we have to come up with some unique ways to organize. I'm going to come back to you on that, but first I'm going to go to Amber and then Rachita.
Yep. This is Amber. Nita, I support what Nita's saying. I'm going to say something a little bit different, which is, I think there could be an assumption that there's basically one kind of organizing to be done. And I think it is helpful to community organizers or just people that want to get involved in stuff to just remember that there's really a lot of different kinds of organizing. There is, movement organizing that's, about organizing the grassroots and, fighting on campaigns and doing direct actions and so forth. There is also electoral politics organizing. And so let's not forget that we do have people with disabilities who are very involved in electoral politics, in campaigns and so forth. And I think one of the things that those folks are trying to do is actually build a healthier environment in which to do electoral campaign, like political work, because right now just political side, it can be very, very toxic. And, building a better space in there is important and it's going to have a ripple effect. But then there's social media organizing. A lot of folks on here do a lot of social media stuff. There's a lot of mutual aid. Mutual aid is organizing. And, it is getting people together to meet someone's basic needs. Like literally, if somebody only has like one thing in their refrigerator, right, we got to do something about that, right? No, mutual aid is like food and it's housing and it's clothing and it's like basic, stuff. It is also, mutual aid is also the Know Your Rights campaigns that the, immigration organizers have been doing particularly. So I want to say that mutual aid is also helping people who have backgrounds and who, current folks would love to have back in prison, helping them stay out and helping them find places to live and to work and, just kind of be more sustained that way. So I just want to say that the different kinds of organizing it's really important to think about and not to forget because I think it all like acts in parallel with each other. It all helps. There's no one thing that's somehow like more important. I mean, it's not necessarily more important to let my neighborhood starve than to go off and do an action. Like I got to make some priority decisions, and everybody has to deal with priorities in their lives. That's okay. You're doing something every day, you know.
Thanks, Amber. So, shockingly, we aren't going to have enough time on this call. I'm behind schedule, but this is all wonderful. So I'm going to try to combine some of the things we wanted to get to with some of the great questions that people have put in the chat. And please keep adding those. Thank you to our Zoom support folks who are collecting those. So I wanted to ask specifically, what do you want to see disabled people doing as individuals and communities? How do you want people to be organizing, right? Considering all that you've talked about. And I'm just going to I feel like people have phrased that some different ways. So I'm going to read a couple other questions. Somebody says, as a person working as an organizer for my local CIL, Center for Independent Living, how do we empower each other to take action? What can I do as an individual to help create change and or connect with people to stop the service stoppage? There was another on here. Oh, Anita talked about getting in the trenches. What does it mean to get in the trenches from our own spaces and movements? Also, speakers, you don't have to memorize all these. I can come back to them, but just to spark some thoughts. And then I love this one. What specifically can we do differently to work to make change than we've been doing in the past? So basically, overall, what would you recommend? What should people be doing? Rachel, are you comfortable taking this one since you haven't spoken lately?
Sure, yeah, I can start off. For me, I would like to see more people kind of starting off by maybe like tuning in to what organizations like ours, like APD, New Disabled South, and such are doing. It's kind of like the base of it, and like supporting our actions, responding to our calls to action. I think we are doing everything that we can on our end, but we can't do it alone. Like on our end, we're meeting with staffers, we're sending letters, we're putting out statements, we have like fact sheets out, we're like doing what we can. But like we need the community strength and we need the people to support us. And so what that means is, when we have in our fact sheets or in our social media, when we like have like a little call to action and it says, contact your senator, contact your representative, like, helping us out and following through because those things are helpful. Like it might not seem like it, but every email, phone call, letter, they pay attention to those, and they actually are impactful. And we've seen that impact and sending in those stories about how these issues influence you. When we have those calls to actions about stories, we collect those stories and we take them with us to these meetings and we, use that. So, every action counts and is impactful and important. Even just sharing a post in order to increase discussion. They hear that chatter, these decision makers. So the louder the chatter is, then the, bigger the discussion is on the Hill as well. So just any action that you can do, even just sharing a post with your friend or neighbor is going to be helpful.
Um, this is Dom. That agree with everything Rachita said. I think we also need to make sure that we are broadening our coalitions. We need we need a we need cross movement organizing. We need Movement for Black Lives. We need Working Families Party. We need Sunrise Movement. Like we need all of those groups. And I think the how is like, well, there's a couple ways that we do that. We unfortunately so many of these other movement spaces have been inaccessible. So while you may not have the bandwidth, the desire to like educate and build their capacity around accessibility, around making sure disabled people are included. Like there are some folks out there who will. We will. New Disabled South will. We do it. That is a big piece of what we do is building cross movement partnerships and helping build capacity for other movement orgs around disability. So like if you're like, I want to get this org in my community involved in our work around saving Medicaid, but their stuff's not accessible, like I'll help you figure out how to do that. Happy to offer that. And I think that, you know, we need to think about how we reach people in a different way. There are folks who have done some really great work around like deep canvassing. So how you spend really, really uh like intentional time with folks. If you've ever done like door knocking during a political campaign or election cycle, this is like so much more than that. You're not trying to hit numbers, you're trying to have deep conversations with people. And there's data to show that it's actually moved people around like trans issues, for example, that actually sitting down and having really deep, long, intentional conversations with folks, one-on-one or in small groups, and listening and repeating back and sharing information and sharing data, like those kinds of like the investing time like that does move the needle. We just brought on our director of faith community engagement, who spent years organizing in Black churches in rural parts of the South. Like we're getting into rural communities and churches and we're talking about disability justice. It's why I have this fan that says disability justice is spiritual. We were down in Selma this weekend handing them out to folks at the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Like we've gotta be in communities, we've got to build relationships, and we've got to make sure that our organizing is cross movement. It's something I've seen be successful in so many different ways. And I think in the disability rights movement, there has not been as much success with bringing other movement folks in. And then I think probably mostly in part to other movement folks maybe not understanding disability or not being willing to. And I think now is the time for solidarity across our movements.
Thanks so much for that, Dom. I appreciate this is Jessica again. I appreciate somebody in the chat said something about sometimes you just have to pause and think about it and listen. And I know that in organizing, especially right now with all the threats we're facing, everything feels urgent, right? And it's really hard to just pause. And sometimes just to pause and say, okay, I need to actually make a call to the local trans group or that immigrant rights group. Like I know who they are. I'm going to make a call and we're going to sit down and talk about how could we be working together, right? Sometimes something as simple as that can really make a difference. Anita, go ahead.
So hi, this is Anita again. So one of the first things that I learned in organizing is that you have to meet people where they are. Okay. You can't come up into a community and dictate to them what they're gonna work on. Okay. You can't do that. You're gonna lose. You have to work on and organize on what that community wants you to organize on. You know, you may want to organize on saving our Medicaid, but they may have some very local, very practical disability related thing that they want to organize on. And so you have to do, you can't, and I'm thinking this falls in with consent. You can't push what you want to organize on folks. And if you meet people halfway and you work on the things that they're working on and whatnot, then there's a chance down the line They will come on, you know, but I'm just saying, it's, you know, practically, you just, you have to, if you can't just come up into somebody's community telling them what they're gonna do. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Anita. And Anita, I wanted to ask you, because there was that question about what does it mean to get in the trenches? Can you say more about that? Like, what would you like people to be doing right now?
I think getting in the trenches, you can get in the trenches in so many ways. Getting in the trenches doesn't necessarily mean getting out there in the street and protesting and whatnot. Um, you know, I think about being, you know, how people put out the, you know, these organizations and whatnot put out these action alerts, do this, this, this. Maybe getting in the trenches is you're the one writing the action alerts. You can do that from your bed. Write the action alerts and get them out. That's being in the trenches. You know, that's, it doesn't necessarily mean, maybe getting in the trenches is making sure that the folks in your building have a little food, have a way to protect themselves, have some encouragement and mental health and whatnot going on. You know, you can get in the trenches in so many ways. You know, maybe getting in the trenches is going up in some of these nursing homes, you know, and educating those folks, you know, on the practical things that they can do from their nursing home. You know, maybe getting in the trenches is um, shielding and protecting immigrants who are in danger. Maybe, you know, maybe you chill with them. Maybe you write some of the action alerts, you know, you know, getting on your legislators, members of Congress and whatnot about the foul things that are going on, you know, with immigrants. Um, there's so many ways of getting in the trenches. A lot of us think about it as being out in the streets, getting arrested, but you do not have to get out in the streets. You don't have to be, you know, arrested or anything like that. Um, you know, sometimes being in the trenches is just literally speaking out publicly against, you know, foul practices. So yeah, that's to me what's getting what being in the trenches means.
Thank you so much, Anita. Love that that you and Amber specifically, and I think everyone have talked about, like, there is a whole diversity of action, right? And so it's about finding what works for you and for the people around you, doing it together. It doesn't have to be any one thing. So this call is taking care and taking action. I want to be sure we talk a little bit more about the care side. So want to ask you all, what does care look like in community organizing right now? And what are some organizing practices that provide care as we fight? So I know you all have talked about mutual aid, actually, so we have really talked a lot about care. But what else does it look like to be taking care of each other as we're taking action? Amber, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. I mean, you know, earlier, this is Amber speaking. Earlier, I talked about, you know, just checking with the people in the room, make sure that they are actually like fully in consent and agree to show up to whatever it is you're doing in that room. You know, I mean, first of all, you don't want people that are checked out, but second of all, maybe there was something going on with them and you got to go figure it out. So, you know, like that does look like care. Um, Second, I want to say that, and some of my staff are on this call, so they're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. But I see the work of supporting organizers and policy people as taking care of their minds. And in some ways, I mean mental health. And, that's important. But also giving them opportunities to play, to be creative, to use their minds in a way that doesn't involve looking at a computer screen or, like being at another meeting. Like I want to see some games, I want to see some in-person visit to something else. You need to give people's minds a break, and that's what care and organizing can look like, is let them take their minds to a complete other place for a couple hours. It's okay, and they're gonna come back better for it. You know, I also think that care is also about setting up any meetings well so that people feel welcomed when they get there. People want to be greeted by name. Hey, Joey, how you doing today? It's great to see you. Like those kinds of things where somebody is welcomed by name and welcome in, that is what care can look like in organizing. And it can be something as simple as, share a granola bar, send somebody a funny story or a song, like these things. But they do kind of speak to the humanity that we have to access sometimes when we're doing organizing, especially when we're organizing on something that feels completely terrible. Like you've got to give people a way to get away from that for a second. So, I'll stop there. That's some examples.
Thanks so much. Rachita, do you want to say something about what does it mean to care for each other and ourselves?
Sure. It kind of goes along with what Amber has said, I think before. That I think for me it means like making sure that you have your own kind of trusted people within organizing, so not doing it alone. So you have like your kind of go-tos or your allies, and whether that's your coworkers or your friends or people from other organizations, and just like surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who understand what you're going through and who support you or the cause, or and are just there for you every step of the way. I think that's what care within organizing means, and just also making sure to um just take care of yourself, kind of along the lines of what Amber was saying. Also, is like just like mentally, just knowing. I know it's like whether it's organizing or whether it's policy or advocacy, it can get frustrating because when you're doing that work, you're not really always seeing the results of it. Or if you do see the results, it's like after a very long time. So I think to keep going, I know like one thing that I always tell myself is like even every small step is, better than no step at all. So I think that's like what keeps me going. Is it's it's better to do something than nothing. And so I think that the that idea that if I'm even helping like at least one person or touching one person, that makes it worth it at the end of the day. So I think having some sort of drive is one way to like take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. Um, so we just have a few minutes left, and I want to call out Jillian from DREDF just put in the chat something that I heard on a Medicaid call the other day. We have two options, try or give up. I also heard somebody else repeat it as we either fight or we give up, right? So let's care for each other and ourselves in all of these ways, and let's keep fighting. I want to share a couple things, and then I'm going to go back for a final word from our speakers. I feel like one of those NPR programs that like has people do one thing at the very end. So I'm going to ask the speakers to share what is one thing. You'll just have a few moments. One thing that gives you hope right now in seeing disabled people organize. So mostly I want to give a huge thank you to everyone for being on this call. Thank you so much to Amber, Dom, Anita, and Rachita for being here, sharing your time, speaking, sharing your insights. We are so grateful. We have recorded the call. We will put the recording and the transcript out through the listserv, and I will also email it to people that registered for the call. As far as joining the listserv, we'll put that in the chat again. You can also follow Disability Organizers Forum on Facebook. And please feel free to post there and kind of elevate the conversation about today. We will do a follow-up call, most likely in a month, maybe a little less. There are a lot of ideas and interest from people here about how do we support each other? How do we share ideas? And so we didn't have a chance to do small groups today, but our next call, we will really take time for everybody to share more about what are you doing? What challenges are you facing? How do we support each other to do that? Because we heard over and over today, we can't do it alone. So please feel free to email me individually, and I'll put my email in the chat with thoughts and ideas, things that you would like for the next call. Please stay connected with the Disability Organizers Forum. Thank you also to our interpreters and our captioner and our incredible Zoom tech support team. We could not have done this today without all the support. Okay, I feel like I'm missing something. I think maybe I got it. So let's have oh, I know what I forgot. I was going to ask everybody to be sure to take a moment now or at the end of the call to think about what is one thing that you're taking away from today's call that you think you can use in your own community, that you think can have an impact on your own organizing. That's really the point of these calls, is what can we all do in our own communities? So please take a moment to think about that. And yes, to what Jensen says, would love to hop on this forum again. I have some new and old things to say, LOL. Ditto, ditto. Okay, I'm going to turn it to Rachita. What gives you hope right now in disability organizing?
The people, the average person in the organizing that is actually putting in the time and the effort to try and get things done. For example, right now it's like 5 p.m., at least Eastern time, and there are over 100 people tuned in to listen to us to try to, to hear what we have to say. And that alone gives me hope. So it's the small things that give me hope to keep going and to keep doing this work, that others will join me and also do the work alongside me. And again, it's like going back to what I said in the beginning, it's about numbers. So if one person is doing something and another person joins and we keep coming together, then those numbers build and momentum builds and we can actually get something done. So that gives me hope.
Thank you so much. We are at the hour. I'm going to ask everyone to share in just a few seconds. Dom, what gives you hope right now?
Gives me hope is that I have heard from so many other movement orgs who want to do better on disability and work together in this moment. And like most of the ones I mentioned before are examples of those. So I'm very hopeful. Manage expectations, but very hopeful.
Thank you. Amber?
Yep, this is Amber. There really is a next generation to this organizing. And we are in that now. And I'm seeing things that, like I know it was like organizing 10 years ago and it was like organizing 20 years ago. But right now we have a lot more people doing a lot more potential things. And I think we're going to be amazing. Just give it a chance.
We're going to be amazing. Yes. Anita, you get the last word. What gives you hope right now in disability organizing?
I'm seeing far more marginalized people and people with very significant support needs out there doing the thing. And that gives me hope. The people that, ordinary folks think can't do anything are out there doing the thing, and that gives me hope.
Mic drop again. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Remember, take care and take action. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.